feces, urine, toilets, sweat, menstrual blood, spilt blood, cut hair, impurities of childbirth, vomit, smells of urine, open wounds, saliva, dirty feet, eating with dirty hands, food cooked whilst menstruating, bad breath, smelly people, yellow teeth, flies, maggots, lice, mice, a mouse in a curry, rats, stray dogs, meat, fish, pigs, fish smell, dog or cat saliva, flies on feces, dead rats, rotting flesh, parasitized meat, wet cloths, stickiness, decaying waste, garbage dumps, sick people, hospital waiting rooms, beggars, touching someone of lower caste, crowded trains, alcohol, nudity, kissing in public, and betrayal.
Those are some pretty disgusting things. As you're reading that list, I can feel my face crinkling up. It's horrible. Why do we feel disgust?
It's a very powerful emotion, and it's one that even me as a disgustologist, I've been working in this stuff for 20 years, it still affects me thinking about revolting, nasty things. It's an ancient emotion. It's not a rational or logical emotion. It's one that's there because our ancient ancestors who had a good sense of disgust, they kept away from all of those things. So if you just imagine for a minute that you had an ancient ancestor who said, "Oh, I love poo. Oh, give me poo. Give me a taste of it. Oh, glass of urine. Oh, yes, I love it. Oh, vomit. Oh, give me a bite. Oh, that person isn't going to be very successful in life. They're not going to be very good at attracting mates, and they're not going to be very good at bringing up children. And it's the bringing up children that matters. So somebody with a very high sense of disgust is going to be squeamish about things that have microbes in them. And therefore, they're going to have more children compared to people who go, "Oh, I like disgusting stuff." So your ancient ancestors all had a good, healthy sense of disgust. The ancient ancestors that didn't, their genes died out. So that's why we all feel this compulsion not to touch things, not to come into contact, not even to look at those things that make us feel disgusted.
So it's basically something way, way back in our evolutionary history that's almost evolved to save us from parasites and infections.
Well, it's actually older than humans. If you go way back to animals, they've all had to deal with the problem of how to not be eaten up by parasites. In fact, parasite pressure is probably more important, evolutionary speaking, than predators. So, we're used to the idea that an animal and humans have fear, and that that keeps you away, keeps you safe from big animals who might want to eat you up from outside. Well, disgust is parallel. It keeps you safe from those little microbes, viruses, parasites that climb inside you and get a lift, a hitchhike inside you, and actually eat up your nutrition and maybe make you sick. So it's very good that our ancient ancestors, including animals, kept away from the things that would make them sick, in the same way that our ancient ancestors, including animals, kept us away from things to be fearful of, like lions and tigers and snakes, for example.
And what kind of evidence is there from animals that they feel disgust? I mean, my mum's dog eats poo, so I think she's not got that kind of level of tolerance that we do.
That's a really good question, because there's a lot of controversy about whether animals feel emotions. Now, I think that the question is not being asked correctly. Do animals feel disgust? That's not really the point. The point is, do they behave in ways that is driven by the emotion of disgust? Now, if you define the emotion of disgust as being something that makes animals keep away from parasites, then yes, every animal shows those behaviors. So you can even, there's a worm that a lot of animal behaviorists look at, which is only 1 millimeter long. He's called C. elegans. Now, if you put him in a petri dish and you give him a microbe that he likes eating, then he worms his way over to it and eats it. But if you put a parasitic organism in the petri dish with him, he's going to run away. Now that is disgust in a worm,
Revulsion,
if you like.
yeah.
Exactly. A worm is revolted by a parasite. So right through our evolutionary history, from the first animals to the current day, every living being has had to avoid being parasitized, and that is what disgust is for. The fact that we feel disgust is actually secondary to the fact that we have this. It's almost like an organ in the brain, a bit like an arm or a leg, telling us to do particular behaviours. So disgust is for avoiding parasites.
I'm just going to bring in a little plastic poo here.
It's really nasty, isn't it?
So obviously you can show that to someone and they're going to look revoltedly at it. How can you actually scientifically measure disgust in people and what people do find disgusting?
There's multiple ways you can do it. So, for example, I could put you in an MRI scanner and then I could show you lots of things like this, and if it would work even more strongly if I could sort of waft nasty smells down the MRI scanner for you, and you would see certain parts of your brain lighting up. Other ways you can do it is simply by self-report. And we, with my PhD student, Mikhail Debarra, we've done a large number of internet-based studies offering people lists of things that are disgusting and asking them to rate how disgusting they are. And that's been very, very interesting. We started off with a hypothesis that probably disgust would be elicited by things that got into your nose, things that got into your mouth, things that got in through your skin, and things that got in through your genitourinary system, through sexual contact, for example. And it turned out that if you do studies that way, that in fact there's 7 different types of disgust, not exactly as we predicted, a little bit different. So we tend to find people who are unhygienic very disgusting. We tend to find things that have come into contact with unhygienic things. So if I gave you a biscuit and then put this down on the biscuit, you are going to remember for a very long time that a poo has been in contact with the biscuit. We also remember and particularly avoid people who look sick. So if they've got skin lesions or have got behaving in strange ways, for example, that might imply that they were sick, we tend to find that disgusting. And we tend to find certain types of food, animals and insects disgusting. Again, those are the ones that are associated with likely to cause infections.
And how consistent is this around the world in terms of, the things people find disgusting? I should imagine poo is pretty consistently horrible. But in terms of some of the other things, do different cultures find different things gross?
Much of the previous work on disgust came to it from the perspective that things that people in different cultures find different things disgusting. And so the assumption was that in fact disgust was shaped by our culture, not by our innate instinctual selves. Well, actually, when I first had my eureka moment working on disgust, I'd been looking at stuff we'd collected from India, from Africa, from different countries in Europe, and from a multinational survey in Athens International Airport, actually. And what struck me from all of those things was actually, though there was some local variation, actually it was the same.
So this passion for poo and disgust, how can you use the information that you're gathering to actually improve public health?
Well, I want you, for example, to wash your hands with soap. It can save millions of lives, literally around the world. And very few people are washing their hands with soap. So if I can come up with ways of making you feel that your hand maybe is disgusting, maybe you have come into contact with something nasty, that is a powerful way to encourage you to wash your hands with soap. Same with toilets. We're working on campaigns now to try and get people to get toilets, because 40% of people in the world still don't have them. I know, it's still defecating. A billion people are still defecating in the open. Now, poverty is part of the problem, but it's also just it's normal in many societies to do that. So what we're trying to do is make it not normal. So one of the ideas we have for a campaign is to show very graphically how when someone goes to the loo in the open, the something coming out of this, it's this contamination concept with disgust. This contamination is spreading. and it's spreading out from the field, it's spreading on people's feet, it's spreading on people's clothes, it's spreading on people's hands, it's getting onto people's face. Yeah. Now you see, very suddenly, instead of being an invisible topic, which people don't talk about, becomes something shocking, something visible, something important, that's salient to people. And we hope that using those sorts of approaches will really make people want to talk about getting toilets and ultimately actually spend the money on getting their own toilets.
So the book, Don't Look, Don't Touch by Val Curtis is published by Oxford University Press and is coming out now. And there's an event publicising it. Tell me about that. When is it? What is it? Where is it?
The event's called Discover Disgust, and it's for anybody who's interested in the topic. It's on the 26th of September in the evening. You're invited to come and hear a bit about disgust and why it matters, but you'll also be invited to participate in a study looking at your own disgust responses. And if you're really lucky, you can participate in our lucky dip, which has got, in fact, we're calling it an unlucky dip, and there'll be items for you to play with and take home with you if you wish.
Is that going to involve plastic poo?
It might, yeah.
So that's 26th of September at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Val.
My pleasure.